5 reasons why every company should train their employees to be better networkers. I'm Greg, I'm the introverted networker. And in this episode, I want to talk specifically to employers, to companies, to bosses, to leaders, and explain why you want your employees, your team members, to be better networkers. And this is maybe a little uncomfortable for people to think about because the first thing that comes to mind is if I teach my employees to be better networkers, they're going to go work somewhere else. And I want to talk about that a little bit at the end of this, but I want to tell you the 5 reasons why it is in your best interest as somebody who leads a company, owns a company, is the employer of people to train your teams to be better networkers. Most people are just not naturally good at networking. And you may have a sales team in your organization that goes out and finds opportunities. And I'm not talking about making people better salespeople. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about every single person in your company should learn to be a better networker. And here's the 5 reasons why. Number 1, find new opportunities. And I'm not, again, just talking about revenue opportunities here, but I'm even that. Like there's tons of people out there who would say, let me train your employees on how to go find new opportunities for the organization. Okay, it's basically going to be sales training. But if everybody in your organization knew how to connect with people and knew how to be on the lookout and also knew how to explain what it is they do or what it is your company does, that's going to open the door for new opportunities, whether that's you finding new business, new clients, new customers. When your team can connect professionally with people outside the organization and explain all these things, talk about these things, talk about some of the things we talk about here in this newsletter, this podcast, these videos, which is all about being willing to give and being easy to help. It's going to connect people to your organization and those opportunities will show up. So what do I mean by this? In networking, in my process of networking, what I talk about all the time is how do you give value to other people? And that's the same thing in networking as it is in business. How are you going to find ways to give value to other people? And that you may say, well, that's my main business. That's what I do. That's what all the people do. They show up and they give their time to help our customers. Great. If they're giving to a network of people or people they come across in the world or people they're talking to about work, those people are going to look at your organization and be like, wow, that's a great organization. Maybe I want to be a part of that organization, or maybe I want to work with that organization. It's just going to help your organization if your people are out there thinking, I'm going to network and connect with people for my company. So again, whether it's brand or anything else, new opportunities are going to come up if your employees understand how to talk about what they do, how to talk about what the company does. And that will, again, maybe it's not revenue opportunities, but maybe it's partnerships. Maybe it's other types of business. So I think having everybody sort of become, and you can use the word ambassador for your company, is what everybody wants. But you have to teach people how to grow and connect professionally and talk about it. So I think that's number 1. Number 2, people will learn more, or people will bring more knowledge to your company if they know how to connect with other people in your industry. If they know how to connect with people, talk with people, build those professional relationships, they're going to have a better pulse on what's going on in the industry. And so networking doesn't have to be about, again, selling things. It can just be about learning. We can learn a lot from people out in the world, but they're not just going to tell us what they know unless they know us. And that's where developing professional relationships is helpful. The other thing is it will make you smarter in terms of competition or products, services, partners, like I said before. So think about it this way. you've got a bunch of new vendors coming in trying to pitch their products. They're going to give you the sales pitch. But if your employees are trained and have been out making connections in the world with people in the industry, they can very quickly get, I'll say, reference checks or kind of like check out these vendors and say, hey, have you used them? Have you heard of them? What's your experience with them? You can sort of build that into your RFP process if you can go out there and you have those professional relationships. If you don't have those, you might be cold emailing people or asking prospects or asking other people that don't really know you and they're not really willing to share. But having those relationships is a good way to get information to make smarter decisions in your business. And of course, yeah, there's the internet, there's other stuff that's online, but you're not really going to get sort of the real unfiltered story unless you've got these professional relationships that you can tap into throughout the industry. So number 2 is gaining knowledge about the industry that you're in and equipping your people to develop relationships to get knowledge and information that other people don't have. Number 3 is finding talent. If you've got your people who work there out networking and always looking for talent to add to your team, you're never going to have a problem filling your positions. People are going to go out and build relationships. They're going to, again, sort of be ambassadors and talk about your company, but they're also going to connect with people who they see are strong, who are good performers, who are leading the industry. Again, going back to the second one. And those are the people they can start to build relationships with to bring them on when you have an opening. So talent pipelines. And I remember years ago, I talked with an executive at a company that said they had a mandate from their CEO to be constantly filling the talent pipeline and be out looking for talent all the time. They were always looking for talent. They weren't necessarily always hiring all the time, but they were constantly out there making connections, saying who could be a future addition to our company. And then that way, when there was an opening, they could tap into those relationships and say, hey, we've talked, would you be interested? You're going to fill your positions more quickly when your people are trained to go out there and make these connections and sustain these connections over time. So that's number 3. Number 5 is actually an internal thing. So the first 3 have kind of been external. Number 5 is you can move more quickly as an organization if your people have built professional relationships within your organization. They will be much quicker to collaborate, much quicker to innovate if they've built these relationships. And one of the last places I worked, we had a phrase we used, which was move at the speed of trust, meaning we're going to move fast and we're just going to have to trust that the people we're working with know what they're talking about. So that's okay. That's all fine and good. But if you don't trust the people in your organization, it's really hard to move quickly. It's really hard to move fast because you're constantly evaluating whether the people you're working with are telling you the truth or if you trust that they're telling you the right information. And that can be hard to gain. But I think in a lot of organizations, if we network internally and we meet other people and we understand what they do, what their priorities are, what's important to them, it helps us understand what do we need to tell them, what do we need to share with them, what do they need to share with us, and we're going to move a lot quicker. We're not going to have to spend time in meetings arguing our points of here's why I think this, here's all my evidence, here's all my context. When you've developed a professional relationship internally with people all over the organization, solving problems is as quick as a phone call. If you know the person and you know who to go to in an organization and somebody says, hey, we have this problem, and you're like, oh, I can just call Bob and I'm going to call him, and you call Bob's like, hey, how's it going? What's going on? You're like, hey, I need to do this, this, and this. Bob goes, yeah, sure, no problem. We fix it. I've seen so many organizations where really difficult problems, all they took is one conversation and the leaders got aligned. They all got on the same page and everybody said, we agree, let's move forward with that. It didn't matter how many PowerPoint decks you did, how many presentations, all the work you did. Came down to those relationships. So relationships within an organization and strong professional relationships, the kind where people have spent time talking to each other, helping each other, telling each other what they need, those relationships enable you to move very quickly and make decisions quickly. But if people don't know how to do that, if they're not comfortable doing that, they're going to not do it, and then you've got a bunch of silos in your organization that you're trying to overcome. So internal networking busts down those silos and really helps you move quickly as an organization. The last one is for your employees, career growth and development. And this goes back to what I was just talking about. When you teach them how to network within the organization and develop these professional relationships, they are going to get exposure to different parts of the organization. You're going to promote internal mobility. People will work together and you will have leaders say, hey, I want this person on my team, or I've got this opportunity and I've talked to these people. I would love to have one of them on my team. That will help people get more experience. And when people get this stuff, when people do this, that makes them want to stay with the organization. People will stick with an organization when they have more opportunities to learn and grow. And by teaching them how to find those opportunities and connect and learn about the organization, you're going to enable them to grow in their careers. And that's the kind of stuff that gets people to stay with an organization and retains them. At the same time, if you don't teach them, they're going to be sitting around looking at you and they're going to constantly complain that there's no internal opportunities. I don't know what's open. I don't know who to talk to. And you could argue, well, that's your job. But again, as an employer, if you equip people, if you train them, if you have some simple approaches that you can give to your employees, they're going to appreciate that. And they're going to believe you when you say career growth and development is important to us. Not just that we're going to let you know when there's open positions, but we're going to teach you how to go around the organization and learn about it and figure out what's right for you. So those are the 5 things that I think employers really need to think about when it comes to networking and why you should be training your teams to be better networkers. One objection I know I would hear is some organizations will say, yeah, but if I do that and they're really good networkers, they're going to go get jobs somewhere else. If that's your fear, you've got other problems. That means you know that people don't like working at your organization and they're only there for paycheck or benefits, and that at the first opportunity, they're going to jump and go somewhere else. That indicates an issue with your culture, with your leadership, with the overall mission of your organization. So if that's your problem, then don't worry about networking. You've got other things to solve. You need to solve those things first. But if you really feel like you believe in your organization, if you believe in what you do and you believe it's a great place to work, you should be teaching your employees how to be better networkers. It's only going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your employees, which also benefits you. It's a win-win all the way around, but you got to show them how to do it. They're not natural networkers. People just don't inherently know this. And if you set it up and you train them in that, then they are definitely going to be more loyal. They're willing to stick around. They're going to see it as a great place to work. You're going to take care of a lot of those other employee engagement issues. Hopefully that helps you. If you're not an employer, you're an employee. I mean, share this with your employer, share this with your boss, share it with anybody you can. And hey, if anybody wants to talk to me about this, I'm more than happy to talk about how a corporation could learn or a company could learn to train its employees in networking. Until next week, next episode, I'm Greg. I'm the Introverted Networker. Let me know what you think. Go out there this week, meet some interesting people, and remember, always be connecting.